If you're going from waking up every morning feeling like a shell of yourself to actually feeling grounded, clear, and in control of your life again, this video is for you. 18 months ago, I hit the lowest point of my life. Today, I'm the most focused and present I've ever been. The difference wasn't one big change. It was 9 small habits done consistently. Here's exactly what they were. I'm Nick, and on this channel I help people survive divorce, burnout, and the identity crisis nobody prepares for. Every video is built on real research, real philosophy, and my own lived experience. No fluff, just the things that actually helped. I remember the exact moment I hit rock bottom. It was the day I moved into my rented apartment. I sat on the floor in complete silence, surrounded by boxes, and I felt nothing. Except the absence of everything that used to define me. My daughter wasn't there, my home wasn't there, the person I thought I was, gone. Every week after that, I'd spend a few days with my daughter, and then I would have to return her. Every single time she would cry and tell me she wanted to stay. I would hold it together until I closed the door. Then I would fall apart. For 6 months, I tried to do the right things, therapy, a meditation retreat, reading, but nothing really clicked. I was going through the motions without truly deciding to change. Then one day my ex-wife told me she had remarried and was pregnant again. And something shifted. Not in a bitter way, in a clarifying way. Life was moving forward, whether I was ready or not. People let go, people move on. And in that moment, I made a decision. I'm stronger than my pain. I hold the power to rebuild. Research backs this up. Studies show that the people who recover fastest from major life crises aren't the ones who had it the easiest. They're the ones who build structure when everything around them is chaos. That's what these 9 habits gave me. A structure, a system, a way back to myself. I call it the R.E.B.U.I.L.D system. 3 pillars, 9 habits, built over 18 months. Let's get into it. The first pillar is your body. When your mind is in chaos, your body is the one thing you can control. And control, when you have none, is everything. This was actually the first habit I started, and it wasn't really a plan, it was survival. When you're in pain, silence is dangerous. Your own thoughts become your worst enemy, so I filled the silence with borrowed wisdom. Books, audiobooks, podcasts. Anything that gave me a framework to understand what I was going through. Several books changed everything for me. Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, a book written by a man who survived Nazi concentration camps and still found purpose, made my problems feel reframable. If he could find meaning in that, I could find meaning in this. Erich Maria Remarque's classics reminded me that struggle is not new, that humans have always had to endure, and that endurance is itself a form of dignity. I call this borrowed wisdom. When you can't think clearly yourself, you borrow other people's clarity until yours comes back. Start with 10 pages a day. Pair audiobooks with your walks or commute. Let other people's thinking do the heavy lifting while yours recovers. This one sounds almost too simple, but don't underestimate it. Walking is one of the most underrated tools for mental health. It regulates cortisol, clears mental fog, and gives you something physical to do with emotional energy that has nowhere to go. I turned my daily walk into what I call the reset walk. 30 to 60 minutes, phone on silent, or playing a podcast, no agenda, just movement and fresh air. On the days I didn't want to do anything else, I walked. It was always enough to shift something. When I moved into that empty apartment, keeping it clean and cooking real food felt almost political. Like an act of resistance against the part of me that wanted to give up. Your environment is a mirror of your mental state, and it works in reverse. Clean your space and your mind feels slightly cleaner too. Cook a real meal and you've told yourself, I am worth taking care of. I call this the 10-minute reset. Clean one thing, cook one real meal, control what you can control. That's it. The second pillar is your mind. Your body can be moving while your mind is still broken. These habits rebuild your internal architecture. I'll be honest with you, this was the hardest habit on this entire list. Hardest to start, hardest to maintain, and the one I almost quit more times than I can count. You need determination, discipline, and persistence to keep showing up, even when you have no energy, no motivation, and no one holding you accountable. It is genuinely hard. People see the results, they don't see the mornings you had to drag yourself out of bed. They don't see the days you tracked every meal when you barely had the emotional bandwidth to function. But here's what I found on the other side of that difficulty. Every morning I looked in the mirror, I saw a person who doesn't give up. And that identity, I am someone who shows up, started to bleed into every other area of my life. I lost a significant amount of weight, but more than that, I built evidence that I could do hard things, and that evidence became the foundation of everything else. I want to be strong and healthy for my daughter, for my future. I want to lead by example, to show her that hard work pays off, that if you have goals and dreams, you put in the effort every single day. That's your why. Find yours. It makes all the difference. Meditation was the habit I resisted the longest, and the one that surprised me most with its returns. You don't need an hour. You don't need a retreat. You need what I call the 5-minute floor, the minimum effective dose. 5 minutes of stillness every morning. That's the bar. For acute anxiety, the moments when your chest is tight and your thoughts are spiraling, breathwork is faster and more powerful. Box breathing, 4 counts in, hold 4, out 4, hold 4. Or the Wim Hof method can shift your nervous system in minutes. Stillness is not emptiness. It's where you start to hear yourself again. This one sounds soft. It isn't. Neuroscience shows that a consistent gratitude practice literally rewires your brain. It trains your pattern recognition to scan for good rather than defaulting to threat. When you're at rock bottom, your brain is in constant threat mode. Gratitude is the override. But here's the rule that makes it all work. I call it The specificity rule. Vague gratitude is just a habit. Specific gratitude is medicine. Don't write, I'm grateful for my daughter. Write, my daughter laughed at something I did today, and for 5 minutes nothing else existed. That is what creates the neurological shift. 3 things every day, keep it specific. The third pillar is your world. The relationships and reflection practices that reconnect you to who you are and who you are becoming. I have always been a lone wolf. Even during the hardest periods of my life, I'd go to therapy, but I wouldn't truly open up, not even to my closest friends. I thought that solving problems alone was strength. The divorce broke that pattern, and breaking it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I started being genuinely vulnerable with friends, with family, even on dates. Not to seek sympathy, not to play the victim, but to be honest, to use my experience as a filter. The people who responded with empathy and respect were the ones worth keeping. The ones who didn't, I learned that quickly too. Isolation is the enemy of recovery. It feels safe. It isn't. You don't need to talk about your pain every time. You just need to be around people who remind you of who you are. Schedule it like a meeting. Don't wait until you feel like it. You won't feel like it. Go anyway. Journaling is the habit that connects all others. It's where you process everything that the other 8 habits stir up. I call it the brain dump protocol. 5 minutes every morning, no structure, no rules. Just open a notebook and write whatever is in your head. It doesn't have to make sense. It just has to get out. What journaling gave me, beyond the emotional processing, was a record of my own transformation. On the dark days, I could go back and read where I was 6 months ago. And that perspective, proof in my own handwriting that I had already come so far, was sometimes the only thing that kept me going. This last habit isn't something you schedule, it's something that grows out of all others. Somewhere in the last few months, around April or May of this year, something shifted. I started recording YouTube videos and felt a surge of confidence I hadn't felt in years. Not because everything was perfect, but because I finally knew who I was outside of everything I had lost. I stopped needing to be liked. I stopped trying to please people. I stopped apologizing for my story. I'm a divorced dad, a man who went through the fire and came out the other side with more clarity, more strength, and more purpose than I had before. The habits gave me the confidence to share who I am, what I value, and to be proud and shameless. That identity, unshakable, earned, and entirely mine, is the real result of this journey. 18 months ago, I sat alone on the floor of an empty apartment, not knowing who I was. The rebuild system, 3 pillars, 9 habits, is what got me here. Rebuild your body. Read and listen. Walk daily. Clean and cook. Rebuild your mind. Work out, meditate, practice gratitude. Rebuild your world. Be social. Journal. Know who you are. I didn't wake up one day and feel better. I woke up one day and realized I already had. These habits won't fix your life overnight, but they will give you somewhere put your energy when everything else has fallen apart. And that's enough to start. Pick one, just one. Do it tomorrow. The rest will follow. If this video helped you, share it with someone who needs it right now. And if you want to go deeper, I have linked the books and tools that helped me the most in the description below.